Hello, my name is Paul Siddall, and I'm from Valparaiso, Indiana, which is near Chicago. Actually, I was born in Gary, Indiana, the same year and in the same hospital as Michael Jackson. But I grew up Catholic, and by the time I came to high school, I started to question many of those beliefs. In fact, I started to feel like I was an agnostic somewhat. And I grew up during those days where kids started to grow their hair real long. And my hair reached my elbows. And I spent the summer of '73 with LSD. And so I started smoking a lot of marijuana and doing a lot of different drugs, never putting a needle in my arm, but mainly experimenting with psychedelics. I went over to my cousin's house and just came for a visit, and his father-in-law was there. And they were on the front porch on that swinging bench, and I could hear that his father-in-law was trying to talk to him about the Bible and about Jesus. Now, I did not jump into this conversation. I completely stayed out of it. But I could tell they were really in an intense conversation. And so I went over and said, "Can I use your phone?" And I called up my girlfriend that night, and she answered the phone, and I said, "There's a guy talking to my cousin about the Lord here tonight." She said, "Oh, really? Did he talk about the Revelation?" I said, "The Revelation? What's the Revelation?" She said, "That's the last book in the Bible. It speaks about the end of the world." I said, "You mean there's something in the Bible that predicts the end of the world?" She said, "Yeah, it's all in there." Well, I went home that night and got down the big Catholic Bible, and I started to look through it, and I found the Apocalypse, which I discovered is the book of Revelation. And I started to read it, and it says these things which should shortly come to pass, and I'm going to come in the clouds, and every eye will see me, and even those who pierced me. And this started to kind of get my curiosity up. I mean, these were strong words that I was reading. So I decided to read the entire New Testament. Well, I got a paraphrased version. And of course, it was easier for me to understand. So I started to read through it. And I started with the book of Matthew. And it didn't take long before I came to Matthew 24. And sure enough, the disciples asked Jesus, "What will be the signs of your coming and the end of the age?" And Jesus said, "Take heed that no one deceives you, for many will claim they are the Christ and will lead many astray. And you will hear of wars and rumors of wars. And see that you're not troubled, for all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. For nation will rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be famines and pestilences and earthquakes in various places. And these will be only the beginning of sorrows." Well, these things that I was reading started to alarm me. It started to grab me. There was a lot of unrest going on at the time in the world, politically especially. And it seemed like a lot of these things that I was reading were happening right at that time in which I was living. And so I proceeded on, and sure enough, I came to a verse out of Matthew 24, but in Luke 21, it said there will be signs in the sun and in the moon and in the stars, and on the earth will be dismay among the nations, and they'll all be in perplexity at the roaring of the sea and the waves, men fainting from fear of the expectation of those things which are coming upon the world, for the powers of heaven will be shaken. Wow. These words of Jesus start to pierce my heart, even though I had not yet prayed. I was just reading the New Testament, and I was determined to read it all the way through. And so I came to 2 Timothy chapter 3, and it said this, "Know this, that in the last days perilous times shall come. For men will be lovers of their own selves, unthankful, unholy, disobedient to parents, and lovers of pleasures rather than lovers of God, having a form of godliness, but denying the power thereof." And I looked at that list. It said unthankful, unholy, disobedient to parents, friends betraying friends, it said in this paraphrase. And my friends seemed to be betraying each other. And that really hit me. I mean, if something was missing, like some of your dope, one of your friends probably stole it. Seriously, it was bad. And all of a sudden I looked at that list, unthankful, unholy, lovers of pleasure rather than lovers of God, and I said to myself, that's me. I'm a lover of pleasure rather than a lover of God. And I looked out and I said, that's true, having a form of godliness, but denying the power thereof. That's me, that's the world in which I'm viewing right now. And so I came, sure enough, to the book of Revelation. And I came to the end where it says, the Spirit says, let him who is thirsty come. And then it says, and he who testifies to these things says, certainly so. Come, Lord Jesus. And I said to myself, certainly so. And I closed the New Testament. And I held it up to my breast. And I said, certainly so. Come, Lord Jesus. And I got up from the Chase Lounge in which I was reading in the backyard. And I went up and I fell on my knees before my bed. And the first words out of my mouth was, Jesus, I believe in you now. And all of a sudden, I could feel a sensation from my innermost being all over my body, more than goosebumps, more than the chills. This was an undeniable experience. It was the Spirit bearing witness with my spirit that I am a child of God. And that's how I knew for a fact that what I was reading had truth in it, because I experienced the truth when I read it, and it came right out at me. It's as though it had arms that grabbed a hold of me and legs that ran to me when I read it. And that's how I became convinced that Yeshua HaMashiach is the Christ, the Son of the living